15 shocking things found inside human bodies. Number 15. A fir tree. A 28-year-old man named Artyom Sidorkin from Russia was having severe chest pains and went to see a doctor to find out what was wrong. Once an x-ray was taken, there was a clear picture that a fir tree was growing inside of his lung. They removed the 2-inch tree after they initially believed that it was a tumor. How did it get in there? Sidorkin believes he must have swallowed a seedling while training in the forest with the army. Number 14. A pea plant. Ronan Svedin from Massachusetts was dealing with a nasty cough that was pretty persistent and thought it might be caused by a tumor. He was eventually proven wrong at the hospital when his x-ray showed that he was growing a tiny pea plant inside of his lungs. Number 13. A fish. It's quite common for the local boys in India to swallow live fish as part of a popular game. However, one boy quickly learned this wasn't the best decision to make. He started experiencing trouble breathing and went to the doctors. They told him there was a fish in his lung. The 3.5-inch long fish was taken out, and hopefully he learned his lesson. Did you know that in India, people swallow live fish as part of a medicinal tradition, and they even force the younger kids to take it as well? Number 12. An eel. It was in 2011 that a 56-year-old Chinese man named Zhang Nan decided it would be a good idea to take a bath with eels, as he believed they would eat away the dead skin from his body and make him look younger. Unfortunately for one of the eel, one had apparently traveled up into his body through his urethra. The eel then made its way into the man's bladder. The 6-inch eel had to be removed by doctors, and surely this man never bathed with eels again. Number 11. Worms. Back in November of 2014, a 76-year-old woman from the Czech Republic named Hanna Foldanova went to the hospital after she was feeling an intense pain coming from her stomach. The doctors discovered that she had 2 worms that were eating away at her kidneys. After the 2 worms were taken out, Foldanova sadly was unable to recover from her weakened state and died shortly after. It's believed she came into contact with the worms after eating some improperly cooked fish. Number 10. Squid spermatophores. A 63-year-old South Korean woman was eating partially cooked squid when she suddenly felt a strange prickling sensation in her mouth. What she didn't realize was that she was chewing on essentially baby squids. To be scientifically precise, she was chomping down spermatophores, or squid semen, that was located in small pods in the squid. The substance then attached itself all within her mouth, and a total of 12 baby squids were removed. Remember to always cook your foods to the proper temperatures and not eat half-cooked calamari. Number 9. 57 maggots. A 92-year-old woman named Catherine McCann, who suffers from Alzheimer's, was discovered to have 57 maggots living inside of her enlarged ear. McCann lived at a nursing home where she was placed with on-the-clock care as she can't fully care for herself. Nurses at the home were administering her eardrops from a prior infection. Once the nurse noticed the small insects, McCann was rushed to the hospital. The maggots had been living in her ear canal for a few days, and no one even noticed as they were putting the eardrops into her ear. Her family has since moved her to another nursing home. Number 8. Hundreds of fly maggots. 57 maggots doesn't quite compare to literally hundreds of them. That's what happened when an Indian man went to his local hospital when he was experiencing intense ear pain. Doctors then discovered that the man's ear was infested with hundreds of small creatures who were devouring his flesh. If they hadn't have been removed, it was fairly certain that they would have continued to burrow all the way into his brain. Number 7. A 3-inch cricket. A man from India, whose name has been unidentified, went to the doctor after experiencing a terrible itch in his ear. Once there, doctors had managed to pull out a 3-inch live cricket with a pair of small tweezers from deep within his ear canal. A video of the procedure was posted online where it was picked up by several online news sites. It was most likely believed that the cricket would have eventually come out on its own once it was nighttime. Number 6. A flying cockroach. An Australian man by the name of Hendrik Helmer began to experience some excruciating ear pain back in 2014. Initially, he believed that a spider had managed to get stuck inside of his ear. Unfortunately, he was oh so very wrong. When he went to the doctors after a failed attempt to try to remove the foreign invader with a vacuum, they used a pair of tweezers to pull out an inch-long flying cockroach. The hospital staff had to drown it with olive oil and wait 15 minutes. Helmer kept the dead roach in a jar and named it Roger. Number 5. A jumping spider. Back in 2014, a British pop star named Katie Malua was experiencing some weird feelings and noises in one of her ears for an entire week. Finally, she went to the doctors where they examined her ears and found a small jumping spider inside of one. Malua used a pair of old in-ear noise-blocking monitors on a flight a week earlier and believes that's where the spider originally came from. She shared this picture of the little critter on her Twitter feed and decided to set it free in her garden after the doctor managed to remove it. Number 4. A tropical spider. An Australian man named Dylan Maxwell had just recently came home from vacationing on the island of Bali when he noticed something strange. There was a long red trail leading from his navel all the way up to his chest that was sort of scar-like. Assuming he was just bitten by some bug, he went to the hospital and got a shocking diagnosis. The trail was actually the result of a tiny spider that had burrowed into his skin and survived there for quite a few days. Number 3. 232 teeth. It was back in July of 2014 when a young teenager by the name of Ashik Gavai was taken to the JJ hospital in Mumbai after local doctors from his village couldn't determine a diagnosis for what was causing his mouth so much pain. Oral surgeons couldn't figure out the cause either, so they decided to cut open his gums, and what they discovered was astonishing. A large structure that was essentially made up of teeth. The surgery took a grueling 7 hours to be completed by using a chisel and hammer to remove a total of 232 teeth. Gavai's condition was a rare one called composite odontoma, where excessive dentin and enamel grow to essentially create benign tumors. Number 2. Botfly larvae. There is a species of botfly called Dermatobia hominis that likes to infest humans with its larvae. These botflies manage to capture temporary hosts, such as mosquitoes and other bugs, and lay their eggs inside them. The hosting insect will then bite a human and drop the botfly eggs into the skin, where they'll develop and hatch after 8 weeks. This is exactly what happened to a 5-year-old Honduran boy when botfly larvae had to be surgically removed from one of his eyes. Before we reveal number 1, let us know in the comments below which one of these you thought was the grossest. And don't forget to subscribe. Number 1. A parasitic worm. Most people's worst fear is playing host to some foreign parasite that's managed to smuggle its way into their body. Well, that's what happened to one man from Iowa back in 2010. It started when John Matthews began to experience a haze in his vision and noticing unusual dark spots. As a local ophthalmologist, Matthews found out that there was a parasitic worm that was living in his eye and feasting on his retina.